Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I have an opportunity to work on a reel that, it's in the Penn Spin Fisher series. This is the 4300 SSG Penn. This one's a mid-2010s kind of a reel. It's one of the first of the series that was moved over to China for production. And I've done a lot of spin fisher reels, but I'm not sure if I've done this one. And I selected it because there is a unique inner gearing system to this that I thought I would share with you. And of course, if you have one of these reels, you'll learn how to service it by taking it apart, cleaning it, inspecting all those parts for any kind of damage, and just keeping it ready to go fishing. And if it's one that you're struggling with, giving it a second chance. Well, I do notice we are missing the badge on the top button there. Not a big deal. We're going to start by taking off the exterior pieces. And as I do that, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel if you like the art of fishing reel service and repair. If you like to learn a little bit about the manufacturers, about how those reels are used, and in general, how to service reels and keep them running for a long time to come. That's kind of what this is all about. So please hit that subscribe button, and also if you're doing that, make it a point to hit the notification button. That way you'll see what I'm servicing, when I'm servicing it, and you'll be able to determine if that's something that you would like to learn more about. Well, this reel has got way too much line on it, and I'm noticing that we've got a bind inside here somehow. I'm not quite sure what's happened with that. And we got something that's kind of pulling up and off from about 3 or 4 cores deep. Well, we're just going to take care of that another day. And Paul, I hope you don't mind me taking that off, but that's got to be corrected. Somehow it got tripped up in there. So for now, we'll just clip this off, and then we'll go back later after the video and we'll clean that up. Also cleaning up, I'm noticing this must have been laying in the dirt or something. There's an accumulation of dirt right along that line there. All right, we'll just put a little rubber band on that for a moment, get that out of the way, and show you how to service the reel. We're going to start by removing the handle here. And, that's going to lead to the gear case. And that gear case, it's where the whole thing gets a little bit different than what you may be accustomed to seeing on a spin fisher. It's kind of a hybrid. It's sort of like the older spin fishers in the worm drive or spiral drive. It's kind of like a little bit of everything. I kind of like the design on it, but it is different. I take the 3 side plate screws out. I want to make sure that they're all the same size. And after I do that, I put that into a parts tray. I use a fast food container, and that parts tray helps me to keep track of where those pieces and parts are, so that when it comes time to reinstall, I can do just that. We have a bearing inside this case here. I'm just going to push that bearing out. Sometimes easier said than done. And you'll notice while I'm doing that, I do wear a protective glove on my hand. Most of the time I try to wear the white glove for the videos. This happens to be that, I have the blue one on today. Not a big deal. I do like to protect my hand from greases and the like. I use a kitchen scrub pad, Scotch Brites, whatever. I put a little bit of rod and reel cleaner on there, and that helps me to clean up the film and the like that gets on this reel. And this reel, as I mentioned, looks like maybe it's sat in some dirt, or maybe in the embankment. It's got a little bit more dirt than normal, I guess, but that's okay. All right, here's that mechanism I was talking about. A little bit different than what we're accustomed to seeing on a newer style reel. We have a crosswind arm, crosswind block, which just became detached, 2 gears on that gear stack, and we have a worm gear. Let's take that apart and we'll give you a closer look at that. You remove the crosswind block by removing the screw that's on the axles, holding it to the axle shaft. That is a flathead screw, and that goes into my parts tray as well. Next, these come out in 2 pieces. They are 2 pieces. They came out as one. This is your crosswind block. Again, you want to inspect it, make sure that that channel is right. You want to clean it to make sure that if there's any old greases in there, you replace those. Inspect it to make sure it's not broken, and that can go into the tray as well. And then we have a traditional crosswind block with a stud on it that's going to be the intermediary between the main gear and the crosswind block, and this is going to drive the axle shaft up and down. Well, with that removed, you can see how that will work. The axle shaft slides up and down. This one slides in and out free and easy. You do want to inspect that. If it's not coming in free and easy, well, then you want to make an adjustment, which means replacing this piece, because it's likely that this piece got bent. That goes into my parts tray. And the last part below on this then is this, well, it's a double-sided gear. It has a gear within a gear. I'll show you that. Most main gears have a gear within a gear. It has one to drive the oscillation gear and another one to drive the pinion gear. Well, in this case, they're kind of stacked on the front. A lot of times you will find the secondary gear is back on the shaft here, the one that's going to drive the oscillation block. In this case, those are up front. This one drives the oscillation. This one drives the pinion gear. I'm going to take a little bit of penetrating oil just to kind of soak those teeth, let that loosen up any greases that may be in there. And then I'm going to use a hard brush to just pull through to make sure that I get all that old grease off of there. So I'm inspecting the teeth as I go along. I want to make sure that we have uniformity, that they're all nice and even and kind of look the same, both inside and outside. And the final wipe off of that, we can put that off to the side. There's a bearing that goes on the back of that on the inner case. I'm going to remove the rotor now. That's held on by a rotor nut. We'll take that off. Just hold that off to the side for a moment. We should be able to pull up, rocking it back and forth. Just like that. Inspect the rotor. Make sure that your rotor trip is coming in and out. It is. This has got a little bit of dirt on it too, so I think I still have enough on this pad that I can use this to clean. So a lot of the servicing that you're doing on a reel is it's cleaning, it's inspection after the disassembly. You can see we have dirt here. That probably landed somehow in that part that we were talking about. So you clean, you inspect, you remove the old greases and oils, and you put on fresh greases and oil to complete the servicing. Of course, as you're inspecting, if you find any damaged or worn parts, they're going to need to be replaced. What's a worn part example? Well, I just got somebody in that's telling me that they've got a reel that's got a real grinding sound to it. Sounds like maybe it might be the main gear. Well, if that's the case, you're going to have to replace the gear. More likely, you find the wear on things that are what I call consumables, and that would be something like a drag washer, for example. Okay, there's two screws that are holding on that pinion gear assembly. Again, even though I pretty much know these are the same screws, I still want to take them, put them down, make sure that they are. I'm going to put those two right on the side here too. You can put them in a parts tray if you like. All right, we notice next that there's a small or a thin washer that's holding the rest of the assembly in. Let's get that out. And it's a good place to tell you to take pictures, if I didn't tell you to take pictures earlier, because you want to make sure that you know how these assemblies go. In the event that you have to walk away from a project and pick it up later, sometimes you forget where you were or where a piece or a part came from. Taking pictures will help you with that. So we took off that washer. Now we have the anti-reverse clutch and the inner sleeve, and we have a bearing on it. When you take the clutch off, you're going to notice that there's two different sides to that clutch. One of them is a plastic side. In this case it's black, sometimes it's white, and one of them is a metallic side, a continuation of the metal that made that shield. That's facing up. If you put it on the other way, your reel won't turn. Just clean off your sleeve, make sure that's dry because these things need to run dry. And then on a shaft we have a bearing. Now I've tested the reel. I don't hear any interference or anything in that bearing, so I'm just going to oil that bearing. If you heard bearing noise, you would want to replace that bearing. There really is nothing short of a replacement to fix a worn bearing. I'm going to do the same thing here with that pinion gear that I did with the main gear. First I just wiped off any excess. Now I'm just going to pull through with the hard brush. You can use the toothbrush or another type of a hard brush. The ones I get are just a variety pack from well, Dollar Store or Home Depot, Harbor Freight, whatever. Okay, gear is clean. Use your fishing reel grease. In this case I'm using Penn precision reel grease. Not because it's a Penn reel, but because it's fishing reel grease. I only recommend using fishing reel grease. Get a good amount of the grease into the teeth and onto that lower stud, which is going to ride in the case. Once you've done that, we can take that bearing that we just oiled, put that on. Somebody told me this all looks like sleight of hand because I go too quickly, so I'll pause for a moment here. Now we have the dried inner sleeve for your anti-reverse. You want to make sure that that's on. Now we can put our anti-reverse on. Remember, plastic side goes down. We can take all of that now and load that into the case. Well, one of the things I didn't mention, you do not need to remove this. This is the trip lever. You saw the inner trip lever when we opened this up. This is what it's going to run against. It's going to force it out and close it. You don't need to take that off. Find your washer now. That's the retention washer for the two screws that are going to hold this down. And then let's go put those two back together again. Make sure that it's going in nice and square. If you have any resistance, if it feels like it's a whole lot harder going in than when you were taking it out, stop, back it off. It's probably getting cross-threaded. And just, well, redo. You don't get points for going fast. You get points for doing it correctly. All right, that's in. And before I go any further, since I have the case on this side, let's do that one more time with the cleaner. Again, I mentioned I am using a rod and reel cleaner. This is Penn Precision rod and reel cleaner and a kitchen scrubby. I think this is a dollar store. I don't think this is a Scotch-Brite or whatever. I like them just because they're minimum in terms of abrasiveness, but they are enough to knock off most of the greases in that. Now this one I did notice, you can see Paul sent me two of them. I noticed on both of them there's a little bit of freckling going on here. I'm going to believe that this reel may have been in the way of a paint spray at some point. All right, with that done, take the cloth and dry it off. Remove that dirt. All right, so we have that in. Let's take that other case bearing now. We're going to oil that. Put that back in. Now we have the case bearing and the pinion gear is seated. We can go to the main gear. Now we've cleaned that already, so let's put the grease on it. This is where pictures help. You may not have remembered that this is the front side. So if you had a question on, gee, which is the front side or not, now you know. But pictures will help you to identify that. Then we can bring that back down and in and mesh that main gear with the pinion gear. You'll notice that that was raised up as part of the case. You do want to get grease on the back of that. That's because our crosswind gear, that's this one, that's going to ride on the back there. So get that on there. You want to get grease into the teeth of this and then onto the face because the crosswind block is going to ride on that face. When you install that, bring that down so that the stud is on the bottom. All right, before I go any further, I'm going to reinstall the rotor. Grab the rotor nut. Well, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, maybe you're working on one, has nothing to do with this reel, but I just jogged your memory. Maybe you're stuck on something. Maybe you've got a problem, but you don't know how to diagnose it. Just leave that question in the comment section of this reel. In the morning I get all the comments come in from the channel viewers regardless of what video they've been watching. I do try to answer it for them. Sometimes it's where do I get a part for a reel, sometimes it's more important, I've taken my reel apart and I'm stuck here. Whatever. If I can help you, I will try to do that. I have a good success rate. I can't answer all the questions, but I have a good amount of success in doing just that. Tighten your rotor down. You can spin it at this point if you like. Make sure that it spins. You can see how that gear system is working now. Big gear turns a little gear. Next up then, we want to take our axle shaft, clean that off. Just a light coating of grease now on the axle shaft. The reason for that is it's going through that pinion gear. If you put too much grease on there, well, it's just going to get rubbed off as it comes through here. When you put the axle shaft through, make sure that you have the hole from that axle facing up, because that's how you're going to install the crossline block. We'll take the crossline block. That's kind of got a 180 kind of an arc. It's not a full one. So just make sure two things. One is that this slot in that crossline block goes over the stud on the oscillation gear. And then we need to make sure that we align the hole in that axle shaft with the hole in the crossline block, which is what we've just done here. There's a flathead screw that you remove that's going to tie the two of those together. And then we can tighten that down to complete that installation. So these reels have been replaced by the Penn slammer system. And that's a completely changed design internally. We've already oiled that bearing. That bearing goes on. We've cleaned this side case. The side case goes on next. Make sure it snaps in. Make sure you have a nice tight seam on both sides. If you don't, stop, take it off, and recheck your work, because there might be something in there that jumped off or was misaligned or whatever, and it's causing some case tension, and the reel will not work with that tension. If you just say, oh, the screw will pull it in and tighten it down, that's not going to happen. All right, one more of these. These are the 3 Phillips head screws that can go in any of the holes. So let's get those in. And the one thing we have left is to service this spool. Now again, off camera, I'm going to remove that broken line to get down to the point where we clear that snarl. We have a 5-sided clip that's holding your drag washer in. This is a low max drag system. It only has one drag washer. That's the Penn HT100. What's nice about this, if you see wear on the one side, you can flip it over and you got a new side. Kind of can be used twice. That's because that drag washer is eared. It sits in the case. And the bottom side doesn't move. So you can simply reverse that like that, and you'll keep it running. And you'll notice it was wear on the top. So I'm going to take a little bit of drag grease. Now if you don't have drag grease, just use fishing reel grease. Put it on, use my gloved hand as a tool. Make sure that I get a good coating on there, and then wipe off the excess. The drag grease is there to preserve the drag washer. Then find your studs, get them back in the holes. Clean off your retention or metal washer. Then we can install that clip again. Hold that. That's a spring. If you're not careful, you can shoot that one and have a pretty hard time finding it again. All right, that's set up properly. I have that the little cloth still has some of that cleaner on there. Let's take care of that. And that's your setup up top. Let's put that back on then. Line that up. Tighten it down to make sure that the drags hold. Once they hold, you can back that off. You don't need pressure on that. Last thing to do then is to test this. We'll take our handle. This can be mounted on either side. In this case, this is set up for a right-handed crank. Get the handle started in the main gear. Before you close down completely, a little bit of oil onto the shaft. And this does have an oil port on this side, so a little bit of oil into here for the handle. Give it a turn. That turns nice and free and easy. Make sure that your bail is tripping, and that's it. That's how to take apart, clean, relubricate, and service the reel. And I hope you've enjoyed that. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for all it is that you do to keep us safe. Police, fire, rescue, you're my heroes. To everyone, please stay safe, stay well, enjoy the art of fishing reel service and repair. Make sure that you take the time to get your service now before the spring run is on, and make sure that you're all ready to go. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing you a great day.